Good evening, good morning, good middle of the night, wherever you're watching us right around the world. It's Monday night in Australia and New Zealand at the very least, watching the Monday Truck Series brought to us by ANZCAR and on RRTV, and brought to us, of course, sponsored by 131 Web Radio. I'm Edward Foster. I'll be calling the action tonight. Also, I've got a couple of guests with me up here in the commentary box. I've got Rowdy Roger Clark, and be gentle because it's his first time. It's the walking triple word score himself, Danny G. How you going, guys?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Very well. So obviously, Daniel, first time up here in the com box tonight, having a look at some of the guys out there at the moment, just running through their practice. What have you made of it so far? You've been watching the guys. I know you've been out there to turn a few laps. How'd you find the track?
Yeah, I was out there a little earlier, and the track's pretty slick. It's 43 degrees, the sun's shining on it. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race.
Do you think it's going to be one of those things where the tyre life really comes into play, given the fact that it's a hot track? Did you find it was getting loose, tight as you ran more laps, or?
Definitely got a little bit looser after 5 laps. So yeah. Pretty much the tyre wear falls off pretty quickly.
Yeah, certainly seeing that with a few of the guys running their round at the moment. You can see in particular off 4, there's a couple of guys who've been getting a bit loose and taking a bounce across the grass, and they're going to be trying to really minimise that, get all the errors out the way now and find out exactly how far they can push these trucks through the race. Roger, wouldn't mind just jumping to you now, getting your thoughts about it, because we are in the 3rd race of a brand new series here, and I guess the question really was that everyone was asking, under the new regulations that ANZCAR put out this season, the guys who do race in the Thursday Night Thunder are able to run a maximum of 5 of these races. So while they can be involved, they're not realistically going to be running for the championship. The guys who are going to be running for the championship are the ones who are in this series full time. And Matt Danson, last season's champion, is now running in the Thursday Thunder, so he's limited with his participation. He's not here tonight. And the question really was, who's going to step up and take that mantle? Who's going to be the dominant force that people have to catch? Obviously, Braden Bullis has come in. He's won the first 2 races. And I guess, Roger, what's your thoughts on the form guide? How do you see everything sitting tonight as far as the competitors are going?
Yeah, evening, Edward. Danny, I sort of coming from my side of things, I think Braden is sort of leading, as far as form-wise goes, being that he's a non-Thunder driver, he's definitely going to be the one to watch. John Sorensen, he's normally got very good, he finishes really high up, provided he's not involved in a wreck. So it's sort of those 2 guys are going to be, you're going to have to watch them. Yeah, as you were saying, with the Thunder guys only being allowed to race 5 races in the series, the points as they come up aren't going to reflect what the end result is going to be. It's just we'd actually decided to do that to let some of the guys running in the trucks get a taste of how much they have to step up to be able to compete in the Thunder Series. And I think it's been a bit of a showing. I mean, the Thunder guys are generally running in the top 10, and but I mean, that being said, the time split, is, it's virtually non-existent. There's less than a second between first and the bottom end of the pack. So it's really going to be anyone's race.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just getting to the end of practice now, so everyone's going to hope that they've got all the jitters out of the system. They've got everything tuned up as far as they want it. They're sorted on the lines they're going to run for qualifying and the race, how they're going to save their tyres, and now coming into qualifying, definitely what they're going to, how they're going to try and run for qualifying. So we can see there's a few guys all just lining up now, ready to come out of the pit lane. Of course, we only see one at a time, given the fact that it is a lone qualifying. Danny, in terms of the way in which you really want to approach these 2 laps, what are the drivers thinking at the moment?
Well, if it was me, definitely I'll be doing the high side of turn 3 and 4 to start the green flag lap, and then you're pretty much just like Michigan. It's a high entry, and just see if you can hold the low line with the speed, and do that through 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just watching Darren Brumfield at the moment, who's just coming out of pit lane into number 91. I believe he's a teammate of both you guys actually at Middle Finger Racing. So I'll be interested to see how he gets on. Now, where have you found Darren? Is he new to the team, or is he someone who's been around for a while, making that switch from road course over to ovals?
Actually, Darren is a dirt oval driver. He sort of really comes from the MFI dirt division, and he's come to try his hand at running around on the asphalt. It's obviously a little bit different to dirt. You do get the odd slide job from time to time, but a lot more grip and hell of a lot faster.
Well, I mean, you find all the real-life NASCAR drivers start on the dirt. Generally, they start on those dirt ovals, so you'd certainly say it's a good grounding. And just watching Darren coming down the back straight at the moment, just approaching turn 3 and 4. Not sure if he's actually, is he on a hot lap yet? I believe he is, so he's going to be really pushing that thing. I think probably we'd find, would you agree, Danny, that the fastest lap is going to be your first lap here?
Yes, definitely will be.
So he's going to come across now, just going to come across the line, and we'll see where that puts him. That actually puts him at the back of the qualifiers at the moment in 6th position. Of course, only 6 trucks have run at the moment and set times, so he's going to be up against it at the start. Just having a look now, we can see there's Wayne Pingilly in the number 31. I believe he's yet another MFR truck is out there tonight, although I can't see him there in an MFR livery. It looks like he's just jumped in at the last minute and come out and have a steer. He's actually on his 2nd lap. It looks as though he may have actually struck a wall or something like that, because there isn't a time register for him yet. So as he comes now through turn 3 and 4, it doesn't really look as though he's carrying a huge amount of speed there, but we'll see what he's able to come up with anyway. Just running just out towards the outside wall. He's going to be looking to drop down, really shorten that run to the line, and he's going to come across in, just slots into the bottom position there, 14th out of the 14 trucks which have run. I think we're putting the mockers on a few people watching him. Nobody that we're watching seems to be able to put in a really fast one. So just having another look through, it looks as though Chris Purnell in the number 920 truck is coming out of the pits at the moment. He's just rolling around, and he's going to be coming out now. This is actually a new outfit that he's joined up with, formed it with Matt Clowett, who I believe is also running tonight. It's Alliance Sim Sports. They've got a couple of trucks in this race. I believe Brett Douglas is in with them as well, and I believe John Sorensen, who's actually sitting up there in 3rd place at the moment, is another one. So just watching Chris now, just running up. He's running around the outside, trying to get as much speed as possible as he runs into the first lap. And maybe just talk us through the lap, Danny.
Well, definitely coming on the high side here, and he sort of won a high entry to turn 1, which is what he's doing now, entering turn 1, sort of off the gas a little bit, and he brings it down to the apex and just floors it off the corner. Looks like a pretty good corner, and down the long straightaway, and you'll pretty much want to do that through 3 and 4 as well.
So you'd say same technique for 3 and 4?
They're definitely 2 different corners, but yeah, I'd say the same style.
Yeah, absolutely. So just watching him come across the line now, he gets nice and close down there on the apron, trying to minimise that distance as much as he can. And that's actually a pretty good lap. That's popped him up into 6th position provisional so far. We've still got a few guys yet to run. Just having a look through to see if we can see anybody else coming out for their timed lap. We can see Matt Clowett, who's in the number 54. He's in another one of those Alliance Sim Sport trucks. And maybe Roger, just talk us around his lap and see if you notice anything, anywhere that he might be gaining time on somewhere else, or losing time, or how it's looking to you.
Right, so he's obviously taking a very, very high line coming in through 3 and 4, sort of trying to gain as much momentum as possible. I mean, the idea behind oval racing on the asphalt is to keep as much momentum up as is, humanly possible in these trucks, whichever of the oval cars you're driving. He's taking the sort of medium line into the corner there. If you look at the track, you find he stays up just off that bottom lane, like you see the little lines in the track, and that bottom lane's got very, very little grip, so you want to stay up just off of that line, because that'll actually upset your vehicle quite a bit. What he's doing this lap, it's pretty textbook stuff. Also dropping again real low down to the apron, shortening the distance of the lap. 41.490. That's put him on pole position. So overall, an absolutely brilliant lap. What can you say? I mean, it's put him on provisional pole. So yeah, fantastic lap, and it's put both himself and Phil Otto up ahead of the dual race winner so far, Braden Bullis. So that's a great lap from him, and somebody who's been a little bit up against it in the qualifying session so far. He's sitting down in 16th at the moment as Daniel Stevens, and we might actually just bring him up for a bit of a pre-race chat if he's available, because he did have a bit of a chat with us earlier on. Daniel Stevens, welcome to the Combos.
Howdy.
How did that qualifying run for you? You're sitting in 16th place provisional at the moment.
Nah, not very good. It's actually slower than my fastest practice time. I actually stuffed it up quite a bit. I was actually trying a new line and it didn't work out for me.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So we're normally used to obviously seeing you starting a bit higher up the track than that, but what do you think your chances are moving forward? I mean, have you had any chance to run the truck on some long runs and see how the behaviour is?
Yeah, mate, it does get better for me on the long runs. I actually do prefer the longer runs because I actually come up stronger towards the end. So I'm just going to take it easy, keep it clean, and keep it going forward, and see what happens.
Absolutely. So starting back there, you've actually dropped to 18th while we've been speaking. So obviously a little bit of work to do. But how do you rate your chances of going forward? Do you think you're going to be able to really push up, and where do you envision yourself getting to by the end of the race? What's your goal?
I'm going to be reasonable here. I'll probably say top 10, mate. I'll go for top 10.
Well, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on you during the race to see how far up you can get. The midfield battle is notorious for being a bit messy, so hopefully you're able to survive that and push your way forward. And we may even be able to cross to you during the race, which would be a rare privilege as well.
Yeah, mate, not to worry. Just jump in whenever you want to.
All right, excellent, no problems. That was Daniel Stevens, their driver of the number 66. So he's sitting now in 19th place, so he's got it all to do. Starting in there up behind, he's behind Matt Hunter and Brett Douglas at the moment, so they're going to be the first ones he's looking at. And while we were speaking to Daniel, Jason Martin, the ever-reliable Jason Martin, has gone straight to the top of the timesheets with a 41.43, which is very, very close to just about everyone else. So as qualifying's winding down, I think most people have set a lap now. I'd say the ones sort of down the bottom are either leaving it very late or they've made some sort of error on their qualifying lap, which has negated their time. But Daniel, what are you expecting from the beginning of this race? Huge field here. Do you think that we're going to have a little bit of carnage early, or do you think it's going to be a clean start, or what are you expecting to see?
I'm going to probably say a clean start, to be honest. I think the ANZCAR races do start off quite clean, but it's going to be pretty quick, pretty intense up the front. A lot of 2-3 wide racing. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, absolutely should be. Roger, what are you expecting in terms of strategy tonight? Do you think people are going to be constantly pitting for new tyres, or do you think that some are going to gamble on staying out? What's your call?
I think it's going to come down to a little bit of driver preference. I know there's a lot of drivers, they like to push real hard at the start of a run, and they burn their tyres off really quickly, so that they'll be wanting to pit as often as they can. I mean, obviously you don't want to be pitting under green too much, because you do end up losing laps that way. So it's really anyone's game. I mean, as we're starting off, if you push real hard in the beginning, you're going to need to pit more often. If you take it easy and you don't overheat your tyres and that sort of thing, you are able to run a longer run, and in doing so, you do end up catching the guys that have just blasted off and are obviously running a hell of a lot faster. But in the long term, it doesn't really work out that way. So yeah, it should be a very interesting race. Just strategy-wise, field strategy, it's going to be, they're going to be looking at least one stop to get home on gas. I have seen it done. I have seen guys run a very long strategy, you know, and run a full tank. So yeah, it's open pretty much the whole race.
It's kind of a unique thing over racing because, you know, how hard do you push on those tyres? Because if you're expecting the race to be lots of little short runs in between cautions, there's no point trying to save your tyres for later. But of course, if you get that wrong, you can find yourself high and dry out in the middle of a long green flag run. And just while we are sitting here and the trucks, I should say, are forming up behind the pace car, we might just run through the grid. So just starting off, we've got pole position, the ever reliable, ever fast Jason Martin starting there on the inside. Outside at row 1, we've got Matthew Clowett joining him. Stephen Williams and Phil Otto make up your second row. Championship leader Braden Bullis alongside John Sorensen on the third row. Michael Skurlock and Zachary Phelan make up the next row. Chris Purnell, Aaron Wilton, Robert Mason, Ricky Cornwall, there's a name I haven't seen in ANZCAR competition before. Will Barrington, Owen Kelly, Darren Brumfield, Darren McKenzie, a little bit further down than we're used to seeing him. Brett Douglas, Matt Hunter, Daniel Stevens, we spoke to him before. He's going to be starting out of 19th position. Tom Freer of the Race Stars in Bowral, their concern up there. Kyle Stevens, Kai Sloggett in the number 9 MFR truck. Then back to Kevin Bomford, Ryan S. Jones, Wayne Pingilly back there in 25th position. Raymond Yeager, would expect to see him higher than 26th place. He'll be disappointed with that. We've got Steve Hoppett back there in 27th, and then we're down into the non-qualifiers. We've got Danny G there. He won't be starting the race. He's up here with us. Ray Kassar, Tim Falsutz, I'm not sure about that one. Ben Doherty, Nathan Tregarthen, and Stacey Walker rounding out the field of 31 trucks as they roll around on the pace lap. So I guess this is a stage now. They're all rolling around there together. They're just kind of checking everything, looking over everything, making sure everything is exactly right for the start of this race. They won't be worrying too much about fuel saving or anything as yet. It's all about the green. And as they come round, Danny, what are you expecting to see straight away? It's obviously been reasonably clean series so far. Do you think these guys are going to stay patient for the first few laps?
Yeah, I think they will, to be honest.
Absolutely hope so. So anyway, as you can see, the pace car leading around those front two trucks. As mentioned, we've got Jason Martin on the inside. We've got Matt Clowett on the outside. And which lane is going to be the lane that goes? You've seen in qualifying, it's sort of been a low line sort of thing, but not too low. You run out of grip if you run too low. So is Matt Clowett going to try and force Jason Martin right down there to the area where there isn't so much grip? We're going to find out in just a few seconds as the pace car is just about to drop into the lane, and it is now leader's call. When he decides to go, the field will be underway and the race will be underway. Jason taking it late, and off he goes. He's got a great jump there on Matt Clowett, and I think Clowett's just going to try and fall in there behind him and just cut off Stephen Williams. It doesn't look to be a threat to him running into turn 1. Looking back even further, we've got Stephen Williams, we've got Phil Otto running there around the outside of Braden Bullis. He's going to be looking at making his way forward ASAP, and the rest of the field, big field there chasing after them, and it's going to be interesting to see how these guys actually manage to hold it together for the first few laps. The tyres are cold. Hopefully they're going to show some patience. They have done so far as we go 3 wide a little bit further back. I believe we've got Zachary Phelan, Michael Skurlock there, looking like they're actually running 3 wide, so that's nice and brave. But Jason Martin has pulled out, so we've got one down there on apron. I think that might actually be, I can't even see who that is actually. No, Aaron Wilton's in there as well, but Jason leading calmly away in the front now, Daniel.
Yeah, Jason's away and 3 wide in the field, just as like we expected. Yeah, it looks good.
Well, at least there's a nice wide track here. There's plenty of room to do that. You see people trying to do that at Darlington. It never ends well. But Roger, just taking a look at the way the field's coming out now. Obviously, Jason leading the way as we're so accustomed to seeing him do. But the battle's definitely going on back in the pack. And I mean, if you're down there, sort of, you know, Daniel Stevens, we mentioned him before. He's up to 14th place at the moment. And if you are starting mid-pack, what are you trying to do at the moment? Where's your mindset at?
I think as a driver, your mindset at this point in time should just be focusing on settling into a rhythm, turning in where you need to. You do use a very, very small amount of brakes around Michigan. Generally, you want the lightest of touches on the brake pedal just to bring the nose in a little bit, and to make it down to the apex. But right now, the main concern for the drivers back in the pack is just keep focused. Keep an eye out for anybody making mistakes ahead of you, because as we all know, if something goes wrong in these trucks or in any of these cars in these big oval circuits, with the closing rate of near 300 k's an hour, you have not got time to react to anything. You're very, very lucky to just drive around a wreck. So, you just have to be on the ball at, all the time, as we've now switched to full auto, a bit of an in-car shot, just so you can get an idea of how they're driving, 280 k's an hour, and accelerating even harder. The gyro cam also gives an idea, as we've switched to that, about how much banking there is on the track. Michigan hasn't got the steepest bankings, but that it's still very substantial. And the way those bankings work for new viewers to oval racing, and people that are new to oval racing, is the way the banking works. The faster you go around it, or rather, you can go around it faster than you could a normal corner, because the banking's actually pushing the car around the corner even harder as it starts sliding up and working up the banking. So you've got the banking pushing you down, you've got a bit of a side drive, like a cushion of air pushing the car down at the same time. And you even find a lot of these tracks, you have to go a certain amount, a certain speed to even stay on the track. I think you have to be doing about 80 or 100 k's an hour at Daytona to just even stay on the banking. And that gives you an idea of just how fast these vehicles are actually traveling. Michigan actually being one of the fastest tracks on the NASCAR circuit at the moment.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant circuit, this one. It's one that definitely takes I guess a bit of a different technique to some of the other ones around. And I believe you mentioned Phil Otto before, and he's one that he's having a great run tonight. I believe he's up there in 6th place at the moment, and he's one of these guys who's been with ANZCAR for a long time. And when he started, he was one of those guys that sort of ran sort of mid-pack to back of the pack, things like that. But over the period that he's actually been racing in this competition, not just this, in Thursday Thunder as well, he's really improved quite a lot, and he's actually really making his move now towards the front. He's running there ahead of John Simonson, who's not a slow driver himself. He's having an excellent showing tonight, so it's going to be interesting to see how far up he can actually finish. Just looking a little bit closer towards the front of the field, we did mention we'd expect to see Braden Bullis going forward. He is going forward. He's just taken 2nd place from Matthew Clowett, so he's going to be looking at trying to chase down Jason Martin now. I believe he's around about a second behind. But he's won each race this season so far. The last race, who knows what would have happened if Jason Martin hadn't had the penalty that he had right near the end of the race. And in the first round at Charlotte, it was a last lap pass on Bruce Smith. They got into each other. Bruce Smith bounced off the wall, and Braden took the win there as well. So he's certainly going to be looking to make this 3, and he's definitely going to be looking to try to home in now on Jason Martin. But what is that balancing act? Do you push really hard and run the risk of burning out your tyres, or do you just try and sit there, realise that it's an 80-lap race? I believe it's 80 laps here tonight, and really try and work yourself toward the end of the race and get the max laps you can out of those tyres. As he comes round for the 2nd lap, he's spending behind Martin. I'm not sure that he's really closed that gap. The gap looks to be reasonably stable at the moment, Daniel.
Yeah, you've got Jason Martin up there. He's leading by 1.1 seconds. Then Braden in 2nd.
Yeah, I think Braden's got a point to prove. I mean, he's one of the few American drivers that does stay out till quite late. I don't know exactly where he's based out of, but I mean, you are looking at very late in the early Monday morning. I mean, he's out there. He's pretty much pushing as hard as he knows how. I mean, you do have a look at his driver profile. He is very, very good at what he does. And, like I say, he's got a point to prove. He's come out, he's driving against some of the best here in Australia and New Zealand. And, he's pretty much showing a lot of us how it's done. He's I mean, he's also very young, so he's got age on his side, and I mean the way he's been driving this season, it wouldn't surprise me if he does run Martin down.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic, and I believe I heard somewhere that he is only 17 years of age, so he's been going very, very well. One of the cars that I'm just having a look at the moment is actually your guy's team boss, Wayne Pingillian, the number 31, running back there in 22nd position at the moment. But he's in a big old battle with Nathan Tregarten and Tom Freer tucked in there behind him. I was just watching him a little bit earlier. He got a bit of a wobble off turn 4 and had to catch it, but he's back on track now, back running nice and straight. So these guys, he's got a few guys swarming all over his back. I know I've seen Wayne running quite a few road course races, GT3 races, those kind of things, but this is about as different as you can possibly get and still have a steering wheel in your hand from those kind of cars and those kind of races. It's a totally different technique. As there's a wreck at the back, we're looking at the 399 of Tom Freer and also Nathan Tregarten got together. Sure if we can get a replay of that one.
So yeah, just looking at that, it kind of looks like the 035 sort of gets a little bit loose off 2, goes up into the wall, and basically bounces off the wall, comes down, collects the 399. They just have a bit of an off track. I'm not too sure if it's brought out caution. It doesn't look like it has. And
Caution is out.
Oh, it is out. And
caution is out.
It's pretty much just a bit of a racing deal that we are about 10 laps, and that's where these trucks on the stock setup, they do start getting a little bit tight from about 10 laps in, depending on how you've been driving them. And that is what happens. I mean, just a racing deal, really.
It almost looks as though the 035 got a bit of a four-wheel slide on up into the wall. It didn't look like he was pushing as much as he's actually tried to go around the outside of 399, and around about the point that he'd almost just be getting back on the gas, he's got a bit of a four-wheel drift going up into the wall, and he's bounced off and took the other guys with him. So, yeah, a bit of a strange incident, that.
I do know that... sort of from driving a lot of the Gen 6 and stuff like that, Michigan's really quite a tricky track when you actually get down to brass tacks. You do get like quite a big snap loose condition off of 1 and 2, and it could have been that's he's gotten loose, or he's just gotten a little bit tight, run out of room, clipped the wall, come down off the wall. Obviously the chain reaction, because you are driving that close to each other, and a lot of people bag on about oval racing, turning left, but because you're turning left, you may just be turning left, but you are turning left door handle to door handle from another guy doing 250 to 300 k's an hour. It does get tricky, because as soon as somebody makes an error, you are going to be involved in wreck, unless of course you're lucky enough to save it and not cause said wreck. And well, unfortunately, we've just we've had our first wreck. Obviously, most of the drivers will be going into the pits, new boots. It does look like most of them are taking 4. Nobody's sort of leaving the pits and well ahead of everyone. So
Yeah, it looks pretty much as far as the status quo has actually remained coming out of the pits there. It looks like Jason Martin has actually retained the lead ahead of Braden Bullis. It looks as though Chris Purnell may have jumped his teammate, Matty Clowett, but I'm not sure whether that position had actually swapped before the pit stop or not. So Jason leading out again. It's going to be great to actually see him and Braden start alongside one another coming off this caution when the pace car does duck into the pits. We've got a couple of guys in there behind the pace car now. I'm not sure if they are, I believe they are not a lap down, or if they'd actually stayed out on old tyres to try and gain track position. So we'll see what they do here. Okay, it looks as though all 3 of those guys have stayed out. So we've got Aaron Wilton there. We've also got, I believe, Tom Freer, who was involved in that accident, sitting there. It looks like Wilton's actually gone to the pit lane, but Tom Freer sitting out there at the moment behind the pace car. He may just be waiting to get that wave around, or maybe he's just elected not to go into the pits. You can see a little bit of damage there on the back of that Race Stars truck, and he's got the fastest guys in this race sitting there right behind him. So, Daniel, what if you were in Tom's position right now, what would you be doing?
Oh, it's a hard one to say. I mean, you're going to get pretty much taken away by turn 1 and 2. Just try and avoid the mayhem and fall in line and start logging laps again and see where you end up at the end of it. But I do expect him to fall backwards.
Well, he's going to have to. I mean, the guys behind him, they've been very fast. Whereas Freya has sort of qualified a bit lower down in the field. He's in a damaged truck, he's on old tyres, and all the guys behind him are in pristine trucks on brand new tyres, so you can't imagine that he's going to hold on to this lead very long. One thing that it is going to do, though, is Jason Martin's going to have that free. He's going to have no one in front of him on the outside of row 1 when they go green, whereas Braden Bullis, he's going to be in there behind Tom Freya. So he's actually got a little bit of work to do, because he doesn't want to let Jason get too far away, but at the same time he's got to follow those restart rules, and he's got to get around Tom Freya, and he's got to do it safely, because Freya doesn't have to get out his way. Yes, he's on old tyres, yes, he's in a damaged truck, yes, there's no way he's going to be as fast as those guys, but he's in position 1. He's leading this race. He doesn't have to give way to anyone. They all have to find their own way around him. So that's going to be a problem for just about everyone who's starting on that low line. He's just not going to have the acceleration of Jason Martin and the guys on the outside. So it could mix up the running order a little bit as we now come to 1 to go. Roger, what are you expecting to happen here? Obviously, Freya's going to fall back, but how are they going to deal with this?
I think my biggest concern here is that Tom Freya being out on old tyres is going to light up the rear wheels on the go. And I mean, you wouldn't think, because I mean, your pace speed around here is, it's in excess of 100 k's an hour. You wouldn't think that you would wheel spin these tyres in these trucks or any of these oval race cars, but they do. And when they, when the rears let go, it never ends well. We've had a few big incidents on restarts where guys have just stayed out and thought, it's a good idea to stay out. But, let's see if Tom gets loose in this restart. It'd be highly unlikely that he doesn't. And, even off the restart, he's at a massive disadvantage because of that. If he knows what he's up to, he's going to have to be real gentle on the throttle to get it going. And it's going to be that split second that it's going to take for him to get up to speed, whereas the guys on fresh boots, they're just going to run rings around him. And it's making me nervous just watching it. So
can you name anyone who's done that, Roger?
I could name a few drivers who've done that, but I'm not going to, because we're going to let that go. I do know there was a Mustang involved, and we all know Mustangs don't have the best track record at staying straight on the restart. But yeah, we go. You see, he's just been swamped. Jason and Braden have just, they're just running around him.
Because they are sitting 3 wide at the moment. But yeah, he actually held that quite well, because you can see Tom did get a bit loose, and you can see he's loose right now. These guys are not going to want to lose time behind him, are they?
No, they won't. They'll be trying to push as hard as they can to get past him. And as you can see, I mean, he's just been swamped. There's no grip on his rear tyres, and this is how it goes. This is why you want to go and you want to put at least 2 tyres on. I mean, that makes it just as dangerous, but at least you have some form of grip, in the boots. And
he's dropping like a stone. Yeah. They're 5 wide back there almost in places. I can't believe there hasn't been another caution yet. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, there it is.
I think we've got the number 31 truck actually bounced off the wall there. Just as I was saying, we couldn't believe that there hadn't been another caution. Wayne Pingilly's actually gone into the fence there. So if we can get a little bit of a replay on that, it looks as though he may have moved up on the 313.
You can see see they're running 4 wide. Wayne hasn't really got anywhere to go. He's got the slower truck in front of him, and he's just come up. I don't know if he's missed a call by his spotter. Generally your spotter would be trying to tell you that, hey, look, there is a vehicle there, don't come up. But who knows? Might have just been a slight lapse in concentration. He's up into the front of the 313 and up into the wall, and again, the chain reaction, because there's no room to move. He's up into the wall. We've got the number 11 up, spinning around up into the wall. Bit of a big wreck. And the the 035 not being able to go anywhere. It's one of those things that you get in oval racing, where nowhere to move and high speeds. That's part of the attraction of it all.
Yeah, and Steve Hoppett got involved in that one as well, in the number 81. He's actually just brought that truck straight down pit road. You can see that truck actually sporting the colours of series sponsor here. It's 131 at Web Radio. That Steve Hoppett is actually fairly heavily involved with, and he's actually had a really rough run of results, and that's not going to put him in any better demeanour, actually, having that kind of damage. I'm not sure what that's going to do to the cooling and everything of that Toyota Tundra, but he's just one of many to get caught up in that. There's quite a few trucks there with damage. Hoppett, of course, recovered. Wayne Pingilly, who managed to set that whole thing off, and I think I even saw Will Barrington getting around with a bit of damage on the front of his truck as well. So a few guys getting bent up in that one, but let's see. Hopefully most of them are able to get back out there and keep on trucking, as it were. Daniel?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. A few cars got taken out in that one. But everyone pretty much stayed out there on 4 fresh tyres from the last stop. So it's going to be an interesting restart.
I think if you go back to the replay and you go back to a view from, say, Steve's truck, the viewers can then get a bit of a sense of just how quickly things actually happen when you're racing asphalt oval. I mean, I know I keep going on about, there is no time to think. And I mean, like when I race, I have this mindset of, as I enter the straight, I'm actually looking into the next corner, because if there's a wreck happening in the next corner, that's the only way it's going to give me time to react. Because if you even think about it, you're going to be involved in that wreck. And I mean, as you can see, there's no room up front here. Obviously pushing hard. I mean, he'd be coming up to about 280, 290 k's an hour. And the wreck's already happening. Lots of smoke. It's hard to pick where you're going. You're trying to figure your way out. I mean, you go high, and the luck of the draw has it that Wayne Pingilly's truck comes around, and he smacks the left front into it. Will the damage affect his run? Yes, it will. His aero will be a bit, it won't be working correctly, so he is going to be a bit slower. As far as mechanical damage, you might find might have something up in the suspension, and any worse than that, I mean, you're looking at cooling damage to the motor and stuff like that, and that generally ends up with you may be able to still salvage it, get a half decent finish. I mean, still early on, so points are a big thing, and that's if his motor lasts a run. You might find he comes out later on and his motor just gives way. It's one of those things. I've had it happen to me where I've taken the most minor bump, and 30 laps later under caution, my motor's just given way, and that's been the end of my run.
Yeah, it certainly does happen. I mean, one of the things that we may know, there's a couple of things that I've just been looking at while you were talking just then. Number one is Braden Boulos is now leading the race. I believe he managed to get up the inside of Tom Freer, and Jason Martin was forced to go around the outside on that last restart, and I think that is actually where that move took place. And the second thing is that we have a lot of big movers in the field. We've got Darren McKenzie, who started in 16th place. He's running 5th at the moment. We've got Daniel Stevens, we talked to him before. He's started 19th. He's up to 8th at the moment. And Kai Sloggett started 22nd position. He's up to 10th already. So there are some guys really making some severe headway in this pack while it's going all wrong for some others. And I wonder how high those guys can go. How much pace do they actually have in those trucks that, for whatever reason, they weren't able to unlock in qualifying? Now you can see everyone spreading out. It's one lap to the green, obviously. They're just falling into those 2 rows that they do before a restart. And let's hope for a little bit of a calmer restart. I don't think we're going to have any trucks falling backwards through the field at a fast rate of knots. I think everyone's on roughly the same age tyres at the moment. But how much pace have those guys got, which have made the big strides up through the field? So if you're sitting back there right now, Daniel, in one of these trucks, say Darren McKenzie, that's made all that space, now sitting there in 5th position, how are you approaching this next bit? Are you just going all guns blazing like you obviously have been and has got you so far? Or now that you're closer to the front, are you being a little bit more circumspect and careful?
I think a little bit of both. And you've run pretty well to be in the top 5 in the first place. You still want to show your speed, and you want to also keep up there and keep the track position. But you don't want to burn your tyres off and will make a mistake and fall back through the field. So yeah, a little bit of cautious, but you've got to pedal hard and keep up with the guys in front of you.
Well, let's see how it works out, because we are 1 lap to green now. We're just on the back stretch, so they're going to be coming up to turns 3 and 4, and you're going to see that pace car duck off into pit lane. So we're actually just watching up here at the front. We have Braden Bullis on the inside. We did mention he took the lead earlier on. Jason Martin sat there on the outside. He is not allowed to go until Braden Bullis does. Once the pace car pulls off, it is the leader becomes the new pace car. He decides when the race starts again, when that green light comes on and the green flag comes out. Then you've obviously got Purnell Williams going up there. As you see, Bullis goes really early and has actually left Martin fairly exposed there. Purnell's actually managed to get down the inside of Martin, and you can see Stephen Williams in there just trying to put a little bit of pressure on him as well, as everyone just sort of sorts themselves out. Coming through turn 1 and 2, it's Bullis away from Purnell. Jason Martin sitting there in the 3rd place. He's gained back a little of what he lost. He's actually got a really good run off turn 2 there, and he may look to just duck down the inside of Purnell. Is he going to make a move? Is he not? It looks like he's just having a look and perhaps deciding that he's going to be a little bit patient there. He probably knows he's got the pace, but he's got to get that move done before Bullis actually disappears into the distance, which he's certainly got the capability to do. And we've got a whole bunch of other guys pushing their way up. Stephen Williams having an excellent run tonight. He's sitting there in 4th place. He qualified brilliantly well, and he's sitting up there right up behind Jason Martin, ready to capitalise on any mistake. And you can also see Zachary Phelan, who perhaps in Pocono, he didn't qualify that well. He didn't have a lot of race pace, but he finished extremely well. He finished either 2nd or 3rd. So I think Synergy Simsports are going to be very, very happy with having him on board in the series. So as they leave themselves around now, we can see a little bit of too wide going on back there. I think that may have been Daniel Stevens was part of that. He's running that high line. Daniel Stevens there in the 66, and he's got Kai Sloggett, his MFR teammate, just down below him. And those two are going to want to sort themselves out and start running cooperatively, because running side by side, you do lose time. Definitely, Roger, it's one of those things that it's one of the great things about this style of racing, but for a race driver, you don't want to always be running next to people, because it does make it that much difficult to make your tyres last.
Well, yeah, if you're down on the inside line, it does become a bit trickier. You've got to sort of back your corner up a little bit more so that you don't overdo it, and obviously your tyres are going to heat up a hell of a lot more than what they would be if you were running on the higher line. I know the standing orders are for the MFR boys, just take it easy and try and push as hard in saying take it easy, try and push as hard as you can. They have been given a bit of a rundown of how to pedal it around here, and also as far as things go, try and make it run, try and make the tyres work for you in the long run. That's where you're going to make your positions. If we do start getting to, this run's only just begun. If we do get to a long run, as there's an incident in 3 between the I can't really pick who it is. We did have an off track. The caution hasn't come out, and yeah. So sorry, where was I? Yeah, it was the 313 was involved in that. It just looked like there was a bit of a touch in the rear quarter, and you know, that two of the trucks have just gone around. And but yeah, anyway, you know, with the guys doing a long run, you know, you can make up a lot of positions doing that. With everyone, you know, judging on this front pack, they're all pushing real hard. You can see that by the gap they were opening up on, you know, on the drivers behind. And you know, but that's not always going to be like that. If this run goes 15, 20 laps, those guys in the front, they're going to start dropping back, and the guys that have been taking it easy, they're actually going to make up a lot of ground. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, it does sort of concertina, doesn't it? You know, a stock car field, you know, it'll spread out, and then the guys at the back who may have saved their tyres a little bit catch back up, and then they kind of get caught up in the aero and so on, and they kind of, you know, it squeezes up and then it goes back out. And at the moment it is stretching out a little bit. We've got Braden Bullis running up there. Jason Martin has just pulled a 10th back on him on this previous lap, so we all know how fast Jason is. I think if this race gets to run a decent long run, we'll really get an idea of how good this Braden Bullis is, because we know that Jason Martin is excellent on those long runs, and he's excellent at saving his tyres. There's very few people who can be as fast as him for as long as he can do it. So it's going to be a real test of what Braden's able to do, but he doesn't look fast, does he? But Jason has brought the gap down by another 10th. He's now 0.4 of a second. He's brought it down from 0.6 to 0.5, now to 0.4 of a second, and he's really starting to home in on the back of that 01 truck. Meanwhile, back behind them, you can see everyone getting a little bit more strung out now as they just try to settle down and get into a bit of a decent race rhythm. We are on lap 29. It is an 80-lap race, so we're definitely into the race. It's definitely started, and those pre-race jitters and those early race jitters can sort of start to disappear. But just watching, there are quite a few trucks still stopped in the pit lane repairing various pieces of damage. But as I sort of look back in the pack, you can see Phil Otto, he was right there at the front before. Now he's fallen down to 17th place, and he's running there alongside, I believe it's Aaron Wilton. So I'm not sure what's happened there. He doesn't appear to be carrying any damage or anything like that. Maybe he just had a problem at the pit stop.
I personally think Phil's just taking it easy. He's always struck me as not a cautious racer, but you know, he's just a bit more conservative than most. You know, he won't go out and push that hard in the beginning, but he gets results. You know, and this is what I'm talking about. You know, you conserve your tyres. Yeah, sure, you're going to drop back a bunch of places. You know, I mean, as a driver, you never want that, but you know, you're playing the long game. Phil is exceptional at playing the long game. He can make his tyres last, and you know, he gets good results because of it.
And that's why he's always so dangerous in those cup races. We saw him at Charlotte. He had absolutely amazing speed in the Charlotte Coke 600 that ANZCAR ran a little earlier on in the year. Unfortunately, got caught up in a couple of incidents and really didn't bring home the result he would have wanted to. But he had a fantastic run there and a lot of pace. Now, speaking of having a lot of pace, just looking at the 01 and the 21, Bullis and Martin, they are now just under 0.4 of a second apart, and they have gapped the rest of the field. Chris Purnell now 2.6 seconds off the lead. So they're just watching these two just drive off into the distance. Now, depending on how long we stay under green, they may start pulling these guys back, or it may just be that these guys are going to continue to pull out and make this a race of their own. Daniel, what do you think? How's this going to turn out?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. When you got Jason Martin closing in now, the rest of the field sort of spread out a little bit. It's definitely at the moment between the 01 and the 21. It's going to come down to the end of the race. Who's got the better tyres, or on a sprint run? Who knows?
Well, do you know if they can actually get home from here? I mean, we're on lap 32. They pitted a few laps ago. Can they get home from here or not?
Ooh, I'd have to say no. I think when they pit about lap 20, 60 laps, no, I think they want to be pitting. And they'll probably, it depends if it goes green, but they even might short pit, sort of halve that pit run to make the best of the tyres.
Absolutely. So there may be some varying strategies depending on whether or not the caution comes out again or we manage to run green. You generally find when the field is strung out the way it is now, you kind of get a little bit more of those green flag runs. I think the only guys that I can really see running side by side at the moment, and even they're tidying themselves up, is we've got a battle here between Michael Skurlock, I believe it is. No, we've got Daniel Stevens and Kai Sloggett running in there behind one of the Alliance Synsport trucks as well. That's Matthew Clark making his way back up. He's fallen down a little way too. He's down in 9th position. So they're all running fairly close, but it is fairly well single file racing at the moment. And Bullis has just extended that gap a little bit more on Martin. It was down to 0.39. It's now back up to 0.43. So hardly anything, but a little bit of an indication that Martin isn't having it all his own way, as we've become so used to seeing that in the ANZCAR series. The way Jason's just able to hook it up and drive away from the rest of the field. Well, he's got a fight in his hands today, and I think he's going to be absolutely relishing that fight. He's even dropped back a little bit more on that last lap. So I'll tell you what, Braden Bullis, this kid's a dynamite.
Yeah, he's definitely got the pace. It's, has he got the stamina, and that'll tell whether we get another caution or not. Just sort of looking further back in the field, I mean, they are sort of spreading out, settling into race pace. I mean, this, as we know, this is sort of where, not a lot really happens, but I mean, at the same time, there is a lot happening. You will be finding that small increments are being made, between drivers. Eventually, there are going to be, the field is going to bunch back up as those drivers that have been conserving their tyres are going to start making inroads. As we're just watching the 23 of John Sorensen, he's going down low. I think he's about to pass the 49. No, a bit of a drag race down the backstretch. No, John's not going to go for it. He's going to pull in behind the 49. And with this roof cam, you can actually see, he's done a bit of a lift. He's slowed down a little bit. He's brought the nose in. Now he's going to get a good run. And this is how you get a good. This is normally where you get quite a good run out of 3 and 4. The Synergy car in front of him, it's got a hell of a lot of pace, coming out of 4. Surprising. But anyway, yeah, that is actually a line I generally use when I'm going around Michigan. Not always been the fastest around Michigan. It's never really been one of those racetracks I've dealt with very much, which is weird because I love racing at Auto Club. I'm very fast at Auto Club, and that is basically the copy of Michigan. Now we're riding on the roof of Darren McKenzie. He's trying to make a bit of an inroad on the 98. He is doing it. It is going to be a bit of a drag race down the front. The 98 will be carrying a little bit more speed than what Darren has. Door handle to door handle. And I think Darren might have the advantage going into 1 and 2 being on a slightly lower line. So, he'll be able to tuck the nose in a little bit easier. You will notice he's not going right the way down into that bottom. He might put 2 wheels down on the bottom part of the track, just try and sort of get a tiny bit of, use the right-hand side tyres just to get that little bit more grip and try and shoot the car around the corner, as it looks like they are coming up on... Who's lap traffic? Yes, it is.
And he's just gone round, actually. He's just gone round. Whoever that lap traffic was has actually spun on the bottom of the circuit.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous part of the circuit. That's again, that bottom line never really has a lot of grip. Like, it doesn't have a lot of grip. So what you find is the right tyres hook up, and they'll just throw you around. And Michigan, one of those tracks, you try and avoid that very bottom line. It does tend to throw you off in 3 and 4. You actually want to be sort of from the second lane up is pretty much the maximum you want to go down. As we're watching Braden and Jason go around, he's pretty much putting in perfect lap upon perfect lap. And, as we've been talking, it looks like Jason is having a very, very hard time keeping up with him. Back to a half-second gap, and I mean, in the world of oval racing, a half second is way back.
And speaking of being way back, back 5.6 seconds from that battle. I've just been watching Darren McKenzie. We were with him just a little bit earlier on. He's come up past Stephen Williams, and he's actually just gone and made the move on Chris Pennell straight away. So he's actually moved up from 16th on the grid. He's moved up to 3rd place now, and only has Martin and Bullis in front of him, but they are a long way in front of him. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make any inroads. And just one of those things that I noticed while we were sitting there looking at McKenzie just working his way through. As the caution has come out, I will come back to that thought, because we have had the caution come out. Just hoping that someone is able to just see who has caused that one. Looks like the 66 actually of Dan Stevens. Yeah, Daniel Stevens is trailing a lot of smoke there. So we were going to talk to him. I'm not sure we'll want to talk to him now. We did, and it looks as though he's got together with the number 4 of Ricky Cornwall, and they've both just gone up into the wall there together. So what do you make of that one, Daniel?
It just looks like the 4 may have come down. It looked like the 66 was keeping his line. But, I mean, yeah, you're pretty much going into turn 3.
4's gone straight across his nose.
Yeah, you're definitely going into turn 3 pretty hard, and I think the 4 just turned down on him. Bit unfortunate.
Yeah, one of those things, and you can see there's a couple of guys there who got involved. So we've got Daniel Stevens trailing smoke, coming back to the pit lane. That pit will have been closed, but he's not too worried about that. He's got a lot of repairs to do. So we may even, I'm not sure if we dare, but I may just try bringing him into the comm box for a little bit of a chat, not bringing him into the comm box, but crossing to him live in that number 66 and see what's actually taking place. Daniel, I didn't want to cross to you like this, but we are. So are you able to just talk us through a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, well, last couple of laps I decided just to button off a little bit, let the guys race, and then to save my tyre so he can come back later on. And then got to that point there, and he just came down on me, and that's what happened. He just crashed. Yeah,
it looks like he'd sort of chopped across. You had your nose on the inside. He sort of come across to take, I guess, your normal line, and you've wound up sort of T-boning him up into the wall. So how bad's the damage?
Oh, I'd have to go and make a hamburger or two, about half an hour.
Oh dear, okay, so unfortunately bad news there for Dan Stevens in the number 66. That hasn't turned out brilliantly for him at all, and he was on a fantastic run too. Started way back in 19th, and he'd worked his way all the way back up towards the top 10. So sad for him, but looking a bit further forward, we can see that the status quo has remained at the front. Braden Bullis still leading from Jason Martin. Darren McKenzie's actually jumped Jason Martin in the pits, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, he definitely got him coming out of the pits. Jason Martin came out 3rd over the line.
Okay, well, we've got a bit of a change up front, and this has closed us up too, because we saw how much pace Darren McKenzie had prior to that incident, but at that stage he was 5.6 seconds behind. Now he's right back in there amongst it. So we wanted to know how his pace was going to compare to the pace of the 2 in front of him. Well, now we're going to get a chance to find out. We're going to get a chance to find out on fresh tyres. Everyone's on the same tyres, and they're going to be able to go at it right from the word go. What do you expect, Roger? Do you think he's going to be able to hang with him?
Well, I think this is part of the beauty of oval racing. Everyone thinks once the caution comes out that the position changes and the race is over, but there's always that big race of pit road, and there's winners and losers, and I think Jason was the big loser in this one. We have seen Darren McKenzie in the past, and at the ANZCAR Charlotte Coke 600, he was frighteningly fast. In the early parts of a run, left Jason for dead, but obviously as Darren's car sort of got tighter and tighter, Jason was able to come back. So, going off that, we still got 38 laps remaining. You can do that on fuel. If this goes green all the way, it's really going to come down to who can make those tyres last. And, if Darren goes his usual way, which is hell-bent for leather from the get-go, I don't think he's going to make those tyres last. But I have been wrong before.
Yeah, he doesn't know the meaning of holding back, Darren McKenzie. I remember that Charlotte race very well, and he went off like a stabbed rat for around about 10 laps and then started to drop back sort of through the field. But how much of that is down to setup of the car and how much of it was down to driving style will always remain a mystery. But we're going to get to see. Of course, this is a fixed setup race. Everybody out there is now running the exact same setup, so it's all down to the driving technique and how these guys are able to get the best out of their trucks. So you can see Darren's also got a little bit of a wiggle on the front there, just a little bit of damage, so his aero won't be perfect. It's probably not going to be that noticeable from in the truck, except possibly on the stopwatch. It might affect him a little bit, but we'll see what he's able to do. You know, he worked his way up. He got himself in a position where he's able to take a chance and have a chance that the leaders, if only he had a chance to catch them. Well, he's been given that chance, and now we'll see what he can do with it. Obviously come to 1 to go now, and they're running a double file down there, ready to come back to the start, just coming through turns 1 and 2. So everyone forming up again. It's a bit of a reset as far as the race is concerned. We've had a few guys drop by the wayside, but not too many. We've still got a very, very healthy field here, and every single one of these guys is going to think that they can challenge. Every single one of them thinks that they can improve. Well, statistically, we know that that's impossible. Some of these guys are going to fall back from where they are right now. Some of them are going to make gains. They all want to be the one who's going to make gains. So let's see what they're able to do. Let's hopefully we can get a nice green run to the finish, and we will see how it all turns out. But Darren McKenzie there now looking to run as close as he can to getting his nose level with the front of Braden Bullis's truck, so they can get off there together. And let's not forget about Chris Purnell. He's there. He's been up the front for most of the race, and in fact all of those Alliance SimSport trucks are all there together. I think there was 4 in the race, and there's 3 left, and there's 3 up there right now as Bullis jumps, and he's jumped well. He's jumped as well as he did earlier on, leaving Jason Martin behind, and now he's done the exact same thing to Darren McKenzie, and it looks as though Jason Martin is going to get a nice run down the inside there and probably take back that second position he lost in the pits. And Purnell is looking right there on the back of McKenzie as the rest of them file their way through and try to sort themselves out. And just having a look at the way in which these guys are overtaking, it's one of those things where as they run 3 wide down the backstretch a little bit further back, let's hope that doesn't end in tears. I think that's Tom Freer back there is elected to back out of it. But looking up the front here, you can see as the guys sort of run together and sort themselves out, there's a bit of a lesson here for anyone who wants to come and race ovals. And quite often you'll see, obviously being Australia, we're more of a what they call in NASCAR a road course oriented country, where there's one way to overtake generally, and that is to dive in hard under brakes. Then you come over to an oval and it's a completely different story. That's not how overtaking is done on an oval. If you do it like that on an oval, you're probably going to wind up facing the wrong direction, probably in the wall. But watch how these guys are doing it. Watch how the guys who are getting these clean passes done, this is the way they're doing it. They're lining them up. They're not pushing too hard into the corner, but they're getting that truck rotated. They're rotating it as early as they possibly can, meaning they can get on the throttle as early as they can. They can try and get an excellent run and try and actually make that pass on the exit of the corner. And you can see back there now one of the I believe it's Zachary Phelan getting overtaken by who is that down there with him? That's that is Zachary Phelan doing the overtaking on one of the Alliance SimSport trucks, and that's exactly what he just did. He got the truck rotated early, he got a good run out of 4, and he actually made the pass on the exit of 4 and down the front straight. You can see that pass is still going on. He's now got the other Alliance SimSport truck right up there in front of him, and he's going to be trying to do that again. He looks like he's actually lost that position, but he did the right thing. That is how you overtake on an oval. What do you think about that, Daniel? Is it one of those things where, you know, this guy's, you know, he's got those 2 Alliance SimSport trucks in front of him, Phelan, and he's got to work his way through. He knows those 2 guys are likely going to be communicating with each other, and he's to make matters worse, he's even got another one right up behind him. So how do you think he's going to deal with this?
Yeah, he's definitely in the sandwich right now. It's going to be interesting. But like you said, I mean, so big tracks like this, you want to sort of slow the entry down and sort of catch the exit on the high side and continue all that speed down the main straightaways and down the back stretches. As you see, as he comes in low here on the 920, might have actually got that job done. He has, or has not.
Well, may have compromised his exit there, just going down low. He wasn't able to get on the throttle quite early enough, and you can see it's actually compromised him down there.
Yeah, that's all about getting the momentum on the high side. He's actually done a pretty good job there. He stayed right on the back panel of him going into turn 1. Not sure if we'll get the job done on the inside there. The sort of where he is now, the banking sort of flattens out a little bit. He can't carry that speed off the corner, and yeah, he's just lost it there. Probably might lose another position.
Yeah, it looks like he's got Matt Clowett there for company on his outside now as well. So yeah, that's the way it goes, unfortunately. So taking that narrow entry the way he's been forced to do down there has really compromised his exit. So it's all about the exits. I know with most of the guys on the road courses, exit of corners are very important as well, but they're absolutely paramount on an oval, and especially on a big fast oval like this, Roger.
Yeah, I've only just recently learned it, like the trick with Michigan in particular is you want to try and make those straights as long as you can. So you want to get the car, or truck in this case, slowed down, rotated, and on the power as fast as you can on the power, obviously managing wheel spin, managing the scrubbing of speed through the corner, but, absolutely paramount to keep as much speed in your cornering and keep that momentum up, and you generally find the guys that are able to do that, they're always very, very, very fast getting to the front of the pack. They can make clean passes. It may take them a few laps to even make a pass. I mean, that's the other thing about oval racing. A lot of road racers come in and they think, you've got to make this pass in this corner, yesterday kind of thing. And oval racing doesn't work like that, especially in these fixed setup races. Everyone's doing the same speed. Everyone's in the same car. You haven't got that advantage over the next guy. It really comes down to the driver. How patient is the driver? How is he setting up his corner? The entry to his corner and the exit. And if you watch how some of these guys are making you can watch the very experienced guys. They'll be setting up their pass in turns 1 and 2, 4, 3 and 4, and they'll be where they want to be in 3 and 4, and they'll make that pass thick. As we're now watching Kai Sloggett coming around the number 49, trying to make a pass on the 49. Obviously, being in that lower lane, he's not able to keep the momentum up and stick that pass. I mean, if we can go to an in-car shot of him and just watch how he's actually driving, where he's doing what he's doing to make things work. As we see, he just got a little bit of wheel spin, just got slightly loose, lose the downforce in the nose of the truck. Coming out into turn 1 and 2, you see that light on the right hand side, there's a green light. That's generally your initiation point before you turn in. He's bringing it right down, putting the left side onto that the very bottom lane, and then trying to get the power out. It doesn't always work. It's easy to sit down in the comm box and say, that's exactly what you got to do. It doesn't always work that way, and he's now driving off of a mistake out of 1 and 2, and you can see how much track position he's actually lost, and how much time he's lost just because he's made one tiny mistake in 1 and 2. He drops a car length or 2 by the time he gets to 3 and 4, and that is just what makes oval racing so tricky. You've got to have everything perfect lap after lap to make that time up, just because everyone's on such an even playing field.
Absolutely, and just looking back now at the battle at the front, it is absolutely on like Donkey Kong between these two purple trucks here at the front. Buller still leads, but he's only got a 10th over Jason Martin, and it sort of almost goes back, Roger, to what you were saying earlier on about these, about the different lines. You can actually see, I've been watching him for the last couple of laps. Jason Martin, he's exploring the track, he's looking for the grip, he's trying to just maybe put 2 wheels off the line that Braden's running to try and get that little bit of a difference that may make the difference and allow him to affect that pass as he goes up high, then goes to drop low. That's what you're saying before, lengthening those straights, getting on the power as soon as possible. And those two running absolutely nose to tail. Not sure if Jason's got the necessary pace there to actually affect a pass, but he's certainly going to have a go. And that's the other thing with oval tracks, especially big ones like this. They are very dynamic, almost living, evolving sorts of things. A line that doesn't work early on in the race will work late in the race, so you're constantly looking and trying to find where the grip is, where's the best place that you can run, and that may differ lap to lap to lap to lap. And that's, as you can see, the times between these guys varying lap to lap. I don't think what Jason did on the last lap actually worked, because he's lost 0.2 of a second now. The gap is out to 0.3. And we did wonder before whether Darren McKenzie was going to be able to run with these two. The answer at the moment is no. He's 2 seconds behind. But he has definitely cleared out from Stephen Williams and the guys behind him. So let's see if these guys are pushing really hard at the front. Darren may have the opportunity to join this fight later in the run if it stays green. It looks as though on fresh tyres, these two have definitely got the pace though, Roger.
It looks like Full Auto's just had a bit of a minor scrub against the wall. He's dropped back a considerable distance and he was real slow out of 3. I'm not too sure if we can get a replay of that, but yeah, we'll just have a look to see what's happened. We've now just got the replay up. He seems, okay, well there we go. He's obviously just got slightly tight coming out, the exit of 1 and 2. Looks like he's only just scraped the wall there. That's going to be enough to upset his run down the backstretch. Now let's see what he does here in 3 and 4. Yeah, very high. Obviously left it a bit late. Minor lapse in concentration up into the wall. He's done very well. Keeping it up in the wall or up on the high line, letting everybody by. You will. A lot of people will be surprised by how much speed that scrubs off. And again, with the closing speeds that we see in this sort of racing, if he just decided to pull his truck off the wall, he would have caused a major accident. And good thinking on his part. Unfortunate to see him sort of slipping back. He's now going to have major problems with the aerodynamics in that truck. Again, possibly even a bit of damage to his suspension. So, a bit of a hard luck night for Phil. That being said, though, he's not in contention for points. I think the first 2 drivers in contention for points are actually Braden and Zachary, and that little group between Jason Martin and Zachary Phelan. Those guys are all Thunder drivers, they're not in it for the points. They're just there to mix it up with the truck drivers, fill in a bit of the field, give them a taste of what's going on. As we see a big battle developing here between Owen Kelly. And who was that who got loose? I think that might be. Okay. So Owen Kelly just got Zachary Phelan loose now. For the people watching there wasn't any contact. He'd actually just taken enough air off the rear of that truck, just to upset it enough to put it into a slide, and that's how you get some of these passes done around here. If you're up against somebody who's driving of the equal pace and stuff like that, you've got to start using. Most road racers will look at that as a bit of a dirty thing, but that is oval racing. There is a bit of the old saying, Rubbin's racing. That sort of thing goes on. It's that is how we do it. Yeah, in the oval side of things, and I think these might end up having quite a big race. Owen Kelly. Another American driver. It's nice to see we're getting a couple of drivers out of the States coming and racing some of the ANZCAR stuff. This is sort of their sport. It'd be nice to see bigger fields with a lot of US-based guys and Aussie, New Zealand-based guys all mixing it up.
Yeah, just watching here as well, just while you were speaking, the 032 of Kevin Bonford has come to the lane and he hasn't left. We saw him down on the apron getting lapped by some of the leaders, and he's brought it down to the pit lane, and that truck doesn't look to be going anywhere. I think I did see a puff of smoke, which is what originally drew my attention to him. And he is carrying a little bit of damage on the front of that, so I do wonder if the engine's gone pop. It looks as though he's actually got out of that truck and left it there in the pit lane, so he may have a fair bit of repairs to go if he has popped that motor. But looking back at the front now, that gap between Braden Brawless and Jason Martin that was 0.1 of a second at one stage is now 0.5 of a second, nearly 0.6 of a second. So Braden now extending that lead. When was the last time we saw anybody extend on Jason Martin? Like, that just has not happened in ANZCAR for almost as long as you can remember, unless Jason's had some sort of problem. But Braden Bullis absolutely showing the regular ANZCAR boys how it's done, and I think all the guys who are in Thursday Thunder should be very, very worried about when this guy makes a step up, because it's got to be something.
Yeah, he's definitely one to watch. Said earlier broadcast just before the race start, he is definitely the guy to watch as far as the truck drivers go. He's he's dominating every race he's taken part in, and he's a bit of a masterclass here at Michigan of how it's done. I think we can get a bit of an in-car shot.
Sorry to cut you off. We've got Raymond Yeager around. Caution is out. Raymond Yeager has spun in the number 12 on the back stretch. Sorry to cut you off, Roger.
Oh no, that's all good. I know it's one of those things that happen in this. Hell of a lot going on, and it just sort of looks like he's. It almost looks like he's driven too deep into 1 and 2, and he's got a little bit loose off the exit, and it's snapped around, and he's collected the looks like the 399, and they've just gone around up into the wall.
Yeah, that's a shame for Tom Freer, actually. He's been involved in a little bit tonight. You saw it earlier on. He was the one who stayed out, didn't take tyres, and fell all the way back through the pack so quickly. So, it's been a rough night for him. But he sort of qualified mid-pack and got involved in a few little bits and pieces, and he is coming sort of down to the... where is he going? Looks like he's actually perhaps pulled off. Maybe that truck is out of action. He's not even going to make it back to the pits. So that could be that he's getting a tow, or that could be the last that we're actually going to see of Tom Freer tonight, as the truck does appear back in the pit lane. And so we've got the leaders coming down pit road now. So we've got Braden Bullis leading them in, and Jason Martin right behind him, Stephen Williams right behind him. I think Mackenzie's already peeled off, and Jason Martin just pulling into the front of that pit road there, as he's right to do, as he had the pole position. And in stock car racing, all of the pits are decided by the qualifying positions, with the pole sitter being right there up the front. So I believe Bullis has got out well. Darren McKenzie's got out very well. I think he's going to jump Jason Martin again. He's got to jump Jason Martin again. I don't know what's going on with Jason's pit stops tonight. Braden, I think, resumes the lead, although it was very, very close for those guys coming out of the pits. Darren McKenzie will once again slot into second place. Jason Martin third. Stephen Williams, who's been fourth for just about the entire night, stays in fourth. And then he's got that trio of Alliance SimSport trucks behind him. Matt Clowett, Chris Purnell, John Sorensen, and then going back to Kai Sloggett, who's made big inroads since the start of this race. Started 22nd, and now he's right up there with the leaders. So he's had a fantastic night. Who have we got sitting in behind them? Kyle Stevens in the 442. He started in 21st place. He's made a big gain up there as well. So a few guys who started a bit far down for whatever reason didn't have great qualifying, but really starting to make an impression on this race. Excellent to see they've been able to fight their way up. Daniel?
Yeah, it's great to see we've got 21 trucks on the lead lap. And I think this is going to be a very interesting restart. I think Jason needs to really pounce on Braden to get this job done. It looked like in the long runs there, Braden pretty much had him covered, sort of took the line away from Jason, and Jason sort of started to veer back a little bit. So it's going to be a pretty hectic restart. But other drivers like Stephen Williams, Matty Clowett, Chris Purnell, John Sorensen, Zachary, Robert Mason, and Owen Kelly. I mean, it's going to be pretty interesting last 15 laps here.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be on. And I mean, looking at the top three as they sit at the moment, I think we've got a lap truck there that looks like it might be Wilton actually up there waiting to get his lap back. But as these guys are going to start, we're going to see Darren McKenzie on the outside again, and we're going to see Jason Martin starting right in behind Braden Bullis. Now, we've seen every restart so far, the guy on the outside, the guy starting in second place, has generally got a shocker. I'm not sure why it is, if it's really just difficult to see when that lead truck's going for some reason here. But on each occasion, we've seen the leader shoot off, and meanwhile the second place truck comes under immediate attack from third place on the inside. And I do wonder whether or not it's been one of those scenarios where perhaps Jason has been deliberately losing that place in the pits to allow him that more preferential location on the restart. So could be a little bit of gamesmanship there from Jason, or maybe his pit stops have just been ordinary. Who can tell? What do you think, Roger?
I think it doesn't take too much to make a mess of your pit stop nowadays. You only need to be a little bit out of your box, and you're going to need to move your truck again. To be honest, it might be Jason just, testing the waters. Me personally, if I was in his position, I wouldn't be testing the waters. I mean, Braden has shown extreme pace throughout the race. So, these last 13 or 14, well, it's going to be lights off in the pace car. Yes, they are. So these last 13 laps are going to be pretty interesting as we see the number 25, Darren Wilton, get the wave around. He's obviously been a lap down, stayed out, and he gets the free pass. So he'll be rushing around to try and get onto the back of the pack. That isn't always a recipe for disaster, but has led to a few wrecks, as we've seen in the throughout the ANZCAR running of the ANZCAR series. So this restart's going to be a pretty big deal. I don't know if we can maybe get into Jason's car and sort of see how he goes about doing it, and maybe give the viewers a bit of a sense of how it goes when you're actually in the restart position. From the driver's sort of point of view. Obviously the bit of the lead up through 3 and 4. I mean, this is generally where the tension builds, and you half get excited, and you don't want to go. You want to try and stay on the guy in front of you, but you don't, because it doesn't take much. You might go a little bit early, and then you're into the back of him, and then there's trouble, or, that sort of thing. So this is always the most nerve-wracking time for a driver, and we'll just see when Braden goes. And
he's gone. He's done the same thing again. Really jumped out there, but Mackenzie's really done his best to cover Martin. He knew what Martin was going to do, and this is going to be crucial for the outcome of this race as well. This is probably going to be the most important restart of the race, unless we get another caution. Darren Mackenzie knowing exactly what to expect. He wasn't too worried about Braden Bullis. He wanted to keep Jason Martin behind him, and now Jason, that's terrible news for him. He would have been really hoping to get up on the back of Braden Bullis and really give him a hard time from the outset here, but Mackenzie's just managed to chop him right off. Jason now having a look down the inside. Mackenzie's going to try his luck around the outside, try and keep that momentum up, keep that speed up, get a better run off the corner with that larger radius turn he's able to do. But Jason gets that done on the bottom on the fresh tyres that they're all running. You can run around the bottom. It's a lot nicer to do it there now than on worn tyres, but that has really disadvantaged Jason. He really wanted to be up there on the back of Braden Bullis at the moment, but he's got that gap to close down again. He's got that gap, and he's got a swarm of angry trucks up there behind him. He's not just got Mackenzie, he's got Purnell, he's got Williams, he's got Clowett, he's got Sorensen, he's got Kai Slogger in there, Owen Kelly having made his way up, Robert Mason. They're all in that pack chasing him down, and he's going to be aware of that. He's going to be aware that although he's had the pace over these guys for most of the race, they're right there again. And if the yellow comes out again, what is he going to do? What are they all going to do? Are they going to gamble and stay out on tyres? It's always a horrible position being up the front, because what happens then if everybody behind you ducks into the pit lane? If everyone behind you ducks into the pit lane, they all come at you with fresh tyres, and you are a sitting duck, and it's a horrible position to be in. You see Jason now, he's just extended on Mackenzie a little bit, and he may have actually managed to bring Braden Bullis a little bit closer, but we saw this before, didn't we? We saw off the start, he got 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second away. Jason brought it back in over the next few laps. He brought it back in to around about a tenth, but then couldn't do anything with it. Bullis began to pull out a little bit again, and I think by the time that caution flew last time, it was almost out to 0.3, 0.4 of a second again. So I'm not really sure that Jason can do this. I'm really not sure that Jason can actually get past Braden and take this victory away. Braden's looked like the fastest, most in-control guy out there all night. and Jason really just appears to be playing second fiddle. So how are you seeing it at the moment, Roger?
Okay, first off, I can tell you now, I think I know why Darren McKenzie is having such a hard time of it. If you look real carefully at the front of his truck, it does look like he's carrying a tiny amount of damage, so his aero is going to be working against him.
Oh, we've got two together. We've got one of the Alliance Insport cars got turned around. Didn't get to see who that was. I think that may have been Sorensen. And he's gathered that up and he's cut back down and he just gathered it up and he's got turned back up into the wall by the 23. I think that was, 32. I think that was Owen Kelly. And he got a little bit loose there and sort of had recovered from it before he got back up into the fence. And we are under caution once again. It looks as though Sloggett got into the back of him as well. I'm not sure if we can get a replay up of that one.
So we're just watching John Sorensen coming through, and from that angle it's real hard to tell. There may have been a slight touch by the by Owen Kelly on him, the number 32, and he's just gotten loose enough, and then his nose has come down, clipped the 32 again. Obviously lost all his momentum, which has then concertinaed the 9, and it looks like the 25 into him. Rather unfortunate. The wreck continues going on with the 25 trying to go down low, and the 23 actually coming down the racetrack, and they've come together, and or rather the 26, and the 23 shot straight back up into the wall. And to be honest, I think that is going to be the end of his night. It's Robert Mason, the 26. Rather unfortunate to see John go out like that. I do think that'll be the end of his night. His truck will be carrying a hell of a lot of damage, no doubt a hell of a lot of engine damage. As watch him get going on the replay, and he's pulling down into the pits. You see the front end; it's going to be working like a parachute, aero-wise, and yeah, well, the next sort of 20 seconds are going to be crucial to see, see if he stays out and goes for points, or whether he pulls up and calls it a day.
Okay, interesting. Unfortunate for those guys, but interesting thing has happened just now. We've got Braden Bullis, Jason Martin, and Darren McKenzie stayed out. However, the Alliance Simsport cars of Chris Purnell and Matt Clowett, who were right in there behind them, have come to the lane for fresh tyres. Now, I'm not sure how many other guys have come for fresh tyres. They're going to be hoping that just about everyone behind them did. But it looks like most people have stayed out, so I'm not sure that gamble's paid off. They're going to be on fresh tyres, but let's remember, most of the field have only just really pitted, so they're on pretty fresh tyres anyway. So I'm not sure that the tyre differential in terms of the new tyres versus the slightly used tyres of the rest of the field are going to be enough to actually help them work their way through. They would have been hoping that more people would have followed them into the pits to make it so they've got to actually pass less guys once they get back on track. But I think that was a gamble that perhaps will not pay off for those guys unless they're incredibly aggressive. We do have those front three there, and just going back to that incident, very unfortunate for Kai Sloggett. He'd fought his way all the way up from 22nd place all the way up there to be battling with those guys. And of course John Sorensen, who had an excellent qualified 6th, he's now down in 18th place, and doesn't look like that truck's moving a whole lot further. And just having a look down there as well, it looks like Matt Clowett only just getting off of the pit lane now, so I'm not sure if he had some damage he needed to repair or something of that nature, but he's going to be starting right at the back of this pack. Now, we know how aggressive that Matty Clowett can be. I can say from personal experience, we've banged panels on more than one occasion, but he's going to have to get all of that out and more in order to fight his way back up. There's only just a handful of laps to go now. I think by the time we go green, there's only going to be 4 or 5 laps left to go, and he's got a lot of work to do in those 5 laps. I'm not sure that pitting has worked out for him there as he would have been hoping.
No, I'd say it wouldn't. It hasn't really worked out too well for him. Danny, do you want to give us a view of what you think, how this is all going to play out, or do you think people are going to be overly aggressive, cause another wreck, and we're going to hopefully not finish under caution, or we're going to see some real good, hard, clean racing for the last 5 or 6 laps of this race?
5 laps to go. I think it's going to be pretty hectic. This is Jason Martin's chance to get out the front, so he's going to have to pretty much get his restart perfect. And you got the guys on the 4 fresh tyres, sort of starting midfield at the back there. They're going to have a lot of confidence to go forward with the fresh rubber, so they're not going to take anything, easy. They're going to be full throttle.
Well, one thing is absolutely for certain. This next restart is going to end the race. This is going to be the final time that they get to run off against one another tonight. If the caution comes out again from here, it's going to finish under caution, and we would really love to be able to see this thing finish under green. It's been such a battle between these two front guys. They've really been in a class of their own, and Darren McKenzie has done everything that he's been able to do to try and make it difficult for them, get in their mirrors, annoy them, see if he can make something. He's sitting there now in an excellent 3rd place. We've got Stephen Williams there, still sitting in that familiar 4th place that he's been with. Those Alliance SimSport trucks that were right up there before have now fallen back. They are on new tyres, but they are a fairly long way out of the equation. They've got a lot of work to do, definitely. We've also got, just sitting there, we've got Kyle Stevens, who we haven't really spoken much about. We've got Kyle Stevens and also Ben Doherty there, and we haven't really talked too much about them, but they are sitting in 5th and 6th positions at the moment with only a handful of laps to go. We haven't seen too much of those guys in ANZCAR competition as yet, but I mean, if this is anything to go by, they've come good at the absolute perfect time. They've come good. If another caution comes out now, somewhere back in the pack, something like that, they've got those positions locked up. And to come into a series like this, fairly new as they have done, and obviously I don't know too much about what they've done in oval racing prior to coming into ANZCAR, but for their first couple of races in ANZCAR, this is going to be a great result for a pair of those guys if they're able to hang on to it. But we've still got a couple of laps to go here. We're going to have 3 laps to go when we cross the line, I believe. So let's see how it turns out, because it is going to be absolutely frantic for this last few laps. This is going to decide the race. The things that you see next, guys, are going to decide this race. So, having a look up the front where it all matters, we've got Braden Boulis there. He's led so many laps tonight. He's going to lead them away again. Jason Martin, is he going to suffer from those outside blues that we've seen? Everybody start outside front row on the restart has fallen back. Is Darren McKenzie going to be able to do something? Mess up Jason Martin's run? Is he going to be able to have a crack at Boulis? Who knows? Pace car is away. They're about to go. The field is under Boulis' control. He jumps. Jason Martin jumps better than he did before, but he's still coming under threat from Darren McKenzie there on the inside. Braden has gone. He is going to lead into turn 1 with only a couple of laps left to go, and Jason Martin is really going to have to try hard to hold on around that outside, use all his skill, experience and speed to really hold on around there. But it looks like Darren McKenzie has got him as Jason tries the switchback, tries to get underneath him. Looks like he's got an excellent run there out of turn 2, and they're going to go side by side down the back straight. There's quite a few guys doing that. I think that's Matt Clowett back there taking it 3 wide, trying to use those new tyres to good effect. You can see there now Jason Martin back into that 2nd place, and he's going to be looking to home in on Braden Boulis as Stephen Williams there. He's starting to look a bit bored with that 4th place, but Darren McKenzie, Jason Martin's going to be hating this because he wants to go and have a go at Braden Boulis, but he can't. He can't do a thing about it when he's still fighting Darren McKenzie. It looks like Darren's coming in there to the inside. He's marginally ahead there at the moment. Braden Boulis is loving it. He will be grinning from ear to ear knowing that Jason Martin is back there in a battle and unable to use his full speed because he's unable to use the full width of the circuit. Looks as though McKenzie may just slot in behind Martin now. He's just having another look as they come down to turn 3. Only a handful of laps to go now, but he's coming in there. What do you think, Roger? Is he going to be able to do anything about Braden?
I think he's going to need to string together 2 or 3 of the most perfect laps he's ever done if he's going to close this gap, and even then it's going to be a drag race to the finish. So I don't know. I don't want to place the commentator's curse on Braden, but from my side of things, I think he might have this in the bag, and the race for 2nd through 4th is going to be the race to watch as we go. Looks like we're going 3 wide further back in the
Sorry to cut you off there. It looked as though we were going to have the mother and father of all accidents back there, but they've gathered it up, and luckily they have, because we're still staying under green here. Braden, as you can see, still got that little bit of a gap there out the front. Jason Martin still fending off Darren McKenzie, and they're really jostling there back at the back. They're like 2-3 wide back there as well. So there's a battles going on up and down this field, and you can see Will Barrington there sitting in. There's a Will Barrington there who's sitting up there in 8th place, absolutely under siege at the moment. There's a few guys look to go down around the inside, and he's desperately trying to hang on to his spot in the top 10. That'll be a great finish for him if he managed to pull that off. Matty Clowett, remember we talked about him before on those fresh tyres, looking to come through. He's made his way up to right up behind Barrington, so he's looking at a spot in the top 10 as well. As he goes down the inside of, I think that may have been Owen Kelly there, he's gone down the inside of, and he's taken Barrington at the same time. But looks as though Braden Bullis is going to win it as one of them spins off into the pit lane.
Yeah, and Braden Bullis takes it on the that one time he crossed the finish line when it counts. And, good race by him, very solid effort. Didn't make any mistakes by the looks of things. And then that's how you win races when you go stock car racing. Just don't make mistakes, and pays off. Jason Martin in second, and it looked to be Darren McKenzie in third.
Yeah, don't make mistakes, as they say. Don't make mistakes and be blisteringly fast, I think, is the key to winning these things. But Daniel, I think we just saw a fantastic race. What did you make of it? Who do you think is going to be the happiest with that? Braden Bullis, Jason Martin, they're used to finishing up the front. Sort of looking back behind them, who are you looking at as somebody who you believe has had a really great run?
Well, definitely Darren McKenzie. He started in 6th, finished up 3rd. Robert Mason started 11th, finished in 5th. And even Ben Doherty, he started 29th and finished 7th, so he's going to be pretty much wrapped. But I think, Braden Bullis, he had that race tonight, and he really didn't put a foot wrong. He just showed the inside line. He knew what he was doing all along. I think he had that race covered.
Yeah. I tell you what, so sorry to...
No, please, go ahead.
I've just seen on the replay the undertake that Matthew Clowett performed in 3 and 4, and it was one of those real typical oval racing sort of shady kind of passes where he'd gotten down onto the very low line, used those, and just basically banged panels and made his way past, to make a couple of extra spots. Obviously that pit stop didn't work out too well for him, going from running real high up in the field to further back down. But all props to Braden Bullis as he rolls into the winner's circle after doing his big burnout, and good photo opportunity for everyone, and that's how you win a race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's getting good at it now. That's 3 from 3 for him. So he's been absolutely fantastic so far. We were wondering at the beginning of the season who's going to step up and take Matt Danson's mantle as the dominant one in this series. Well, guess what? This is the guy. This is the guy who's doing the business at the moment. Who knows what the rest of the season's going to bring, but it's certainly looking very, very good for Braden Bullis at the moment. And as much as I hate to see an American coming over here and showing all us Oz NZers how it's done, he's doing a fantastic job. He'd win anywhere he goes. He really, really would. So hopefully he stops up here for an interview. We are going to start with the interviews reasonably soon. I'm not sure if we've got a few guys there in the green room at the moment. So not sure if we just want to wind down anything else further before we stop to the interviews, or would you guys be happy to begin the interviews now?
I'd be happy to start with the interviews, and I'd actually want to have a talk with Phil and sort of see what was going on. I mean, he started real high up and dropped back, and then we saw him have that little unfortunate mishap with the getting tight and then up into the wall.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's bring Phil Otto into the broadcast booth here, and we will let Roger fire off and have a bit of a chat with Phil. He had a great race by the looks of it.
Yeah, evening, Phil. How's it going?
How you going, Roger? How you going, boys?
Yeah, good, mate. So, do you want to run us through what happened there? I mean, you started off real well. You'd qualified real high up, and then just started dropping back. Were you trying to play the conservative game on the on tyres, and expecting long runs, and then can you sort of walk us through what happened at the end there, where you've unfortunately we saw you get up into the wall in 3 and 4, and
Yeah, I pulled a qualifying lap out of me butt. Don't ask me where that come from. I got no idea. And after the first caution, I was down to sixth, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just sit here, and I just keep getting pushed more left, and all of a sudden I was down the apron. I said, oh, I've got to get out of here, so I just backed off, and everybody just went past. So I thought, oh, well, I'll just sit here and hope for some long runs, and it didn't work out. But I'm happy with the finish I got. It was real good.
No, it's 13th is better than bloody not finishing at all, eh?
Absolutely.
No, well, like I say, I mean, it did look like early on, you had some good pace, and unfortunately, sometimes you go backwards and sometimes you go forwards in these oval races, and
that's racing, mate. And you don't know what's going to happen, so that's just
that's
the way
right.
it is, eh?
That's right. So, you got anyone any drivers, anyone you want to have a bit of a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank the boys at D-Power BenMax Racing. We've just signed a sponsor about 2 weeks ago, BenMax from Canberra. That's glad to have them on board, and hopefully we can get some really good results from. I want to thank Bernie and all you guys for running the series and broadcasting. It's been absolutely outstanding.
Oh, good. And looking forward to any upcoming races in the Thunder Series. Cup races coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get to the Cup race in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to the next Thunder Series race. So that's excellent.
Oh, good. Happy to have you with us here, Phil.
It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, no worries. I don't know if any of the other boys have some questions for you, or...
No, I think that pretty much covers it off as far as that. Obviously, congratulations, Phil, on getting that one to the end. It looked a bit dicey there. Lots of guys banging around in the midfield. So excellent to see you come home with a more or less straight truck and a strong finish. So well done. And we may bring up our next interviewee now. And I would like to have a bit of a chat with our winner, Braden Bullis, who's just popped up there in the green room. Braden, welcome to the RRTV Combox. 3 from 3. I can't even spit that out. 3 from 3. Couldn't really have started any better.
Yeah. I'm honestly not too sure what to think of it. I didn't really expect to come in and win the first 3 races of the season.
So looking back at the first of the 3 wins, which unfortunately wasn't broadcast, but at Charlotte you obviously had that last lap touch with Bruce Smith and managed to take the win there. Last week at Pocono, we've seen Jason Martin looked like he possibly had the win there and had a penalty, but this one was just on pure pace from the front. I mean, Jason took that pole position, but you started from, I believe it was 3rd place, and then just ran through and just took the race by the scruff of the neck and went from there. I mean, was it something that you always had under control, or was Jason giving you a really hard time?
I wouldn't say I had it under control. Jason was definitely really, really fast, especially for like the first 10 laps of the runs. He I'd say he had me beat there, but then after about 10 laps into every run, it seemed like the times would even out.
Okay, I mean, I know you're quite new to the ANZCAR races that we run here, but and I'm not sure how much you know about Jason Martin, but Jason's the guy who's been dominating our series for almost since its inception, and it's been a long time, if ever, that we've seen anybody come along and beat Jason Martin on raw pace. Sure, he has these races where he, gets involved in accidents or something like that, and that may stop him. But generally, if he has a perfect race, he's right up there. So the fact that you're able to come in here now and actually run and beat him on pace is great for the series. It's great. Everybody's enjoying watching this battle between the two of you. And obviously, with what we'd expect to be a top 3 in this series, an invite to the Premier Thursday Thunder Series beckons. I mean, is that something that you're looking towards? Are you looking to move up into the Xfinity Series at ANZCAR Run?
Yeah, actually, I'd very much enjoy that. I would really look forward to racing with my teammate Matt Danson.
Right, yes, Matt Danson, of course, who dominated the series last season, obviously having moved up to Thunder now. So I'm sure that just about everybody who's sitting there watching would love to see you in there with those guys and see how you get on as well. But obviously there is a championship to be won here as well, and you're right on track. So excellent work. Well done. Do you have anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to while you're here with us?
Yeah, I gotta thank Matt Danson again. He introduced me to the series the day that the truck series actually started. So he introduced me to it, and then I signed up, and I guess the rest is history, so to speak. And we've been kind of coaching each other back and forth the last couple weeks of the series.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic to see you here. Glad you're enjoying it, and I hope you stick around for a much fair while yet. So excellent work, and I guess we'll be seeing you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Excellent.
Next week, hopefully.
Excellent race winner, Braden Bullis there. So we got one more guy sat down there in the green room, and as luck would have it, it is our second place getter, Jason Martin. So Danny, did you want to have a chat with Jason?
Yeah, no worries. How you going, Jason?
G'day, fellas. What are you guys doing in the commentary box?
Oh, we're just having a bit of fun, seeing how it all works. It has been fun. So yeah, one question I had to ask, with about 25 laps to go, you're sort of sitting 0.1 of a second behind Braden there, and it sort of fell back to 0.5, 0.6 of a second. Did you think you had anything for him at that stage?
No, it looked like we were pretty even, so I just tried to run some different lines, and that just made me heap slower, so had to try and get back onto the normal line again, and by then he cleared off.
Yeah, we actually saw that. We saw you switching up lines, and then you fell back to that 0.6 of a second. And yeah, we thought pretty much your last chance would have been on the last two restarts, but you just sort of got hung back there behind Darren McKenzie and just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I knew I had to get him in the first 5 to 10 laps on a run, because after that we were pretty even, or he might have just been a little bit quicker, so I was definitely trying to get him early in the run.
And also, we also noticed the on your pit stops, you fell back a couple of positions. What was happening there?
On one of them I went too far forward, and then on the next ones I realised I was terrible on the outside line, so I was trying to get the inside for the restarts.
Yes, nice. We were actually talking about that and seeing if there was any gamership while that was happening.
Yep, because every time I was on that outside I'd lose one spot easily, so I wanted that inside.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very well, thank you very much.
Okay, so that was... Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Sorry for talking over the top of our second place getter there, Jason Martin. Very unusual to see him beaten on raw pace. It doesn't happen very often, but it happened tonight. So probably a good time to actually run through the full finishing positions for tonight. So as we covered off and we spoke to before, we had Braden Bullis in first place for the third consecutive week here in the Truck Series. Jason Martin following him home in second, gave him a hard time all the way. Darren McKenzie coming up from 16th place up to third position. Excellent run from him. Stephen Williams in that all-familiar fourth position. He ran there just about all night. Robert Mason, fantastic run up from 11th place. Chris Purnell hovered around that top group for most of the evening. He finished in 6th position. Ben Doherty, 29th position on the grid, 7th position in the race. He is going to be absolutely thrilled with that. I hope we see more of him in the ANZCAR series. Matthew Clowett, after that late pit stop, came back on those fresh tyres and managed to work his way back up to 8th. Will Barrington sitting there in 9th. Kyle Stevens, 10th place. Michael Skurlock, Phil Otto, 11th and 12th. Darren Brumfield there in 13th. Nathan Tregarten there in 14th place, and Raymond Yeager in 15th. Moving back a bit further, we had Matt Hunter and Owen Kelly in 17th place, having dropped back on that last lap incident where he ran through the pit lane. Aaron Wilton, John Sorensen, who unfortunately got caught up in that late incident. Kai Sloggett, who ended up finishing a few laps down. He had a hard run tonight, spent most of the race with some fairly heavy damage. Zachary Phelan, Tom Freer, Kevin Bomford, Daniel Stevens, Ricky Cornwall, Stacey Walker, Ryan Jones, Steve Hoppett, Wayne Pingilly, and Brett Douglas all failed to make the finish, unfortunately for them. Those are your retirements for tonight. So what did you make of it, guys? I think we've had 3 great races in this series, and this one was well worth sitting through. I hope everybody else enjoyed it. What did you guys make of it?
Yeah, I think the racing was, it was pretty good from the get-go. Lots of green flag runs. Nobody wants to be stuck behind the pace car, as a driver or even as a viewer. I mean, the racing does get a bit boring, when there is no racing. Good to see a lot of 2 and 3 wide racing. It looks like everybody's, getting used to the idea that, you can run multiple cars and, in the same section of track, as it were, and not just have a big wreck and all that sort of thing. And looking forward to next week as the trucks roll into Gateway Motorsport Park, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. Short track racing, tight around one end and big wide open flat corners around the other end. And I remember the last time ANZCAR went there, we had some fantastic racing. I can remember having a good battle with your brother James, Edward.
How long did that last before you came together?
It actually lasted a few laps, and then I made a slight judgment error going through coming out of 4, and your brother managed to just get the jump on me. I think I actually might have lit up a rear, and that wasn't all she wrote. I mean, finished the race, but short track racing, good hard door handle to door handle, bumper to bumper racing. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to getting back in the old Xfinity car and sending the old Camaro around Pocono Raceway at the old tricky triangle.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to that. Now, looking at Daniel, you've had a chance now. I believe you've been either involved or viewing all 3 of the races that we've had here in the Truck Series so far. Obviously, this is the first one that we broadcast, but if you have a look at Braden Boulis and have a look at the guys who are, forget Jason Martin, he's a Thunder driver, he's not going to be here all season. Darren McKenzie, same. Stephen Williams, same. I mean, are you looking down through that field and are you seeing anybody who can take the fight to Braden? Are you looking at the way Braden's driving? Do you see any weaknesses that anybody might be able to exploit, or do you think he's going to be the class of the field from here on out?
Oh, I definitely think he's going to be the class of the field, to be honest. He's sort of put away the last 3 races now. Sort of got lucky there in the second race at Pocono, but other than that, he's pretty spot on. He gets his lines right. Everything's pretty perfect. He doesn't make too many mistakes. I think if Robert Mason maybe he pulls up for the rest of the year, he might sort of show him up in a few races, and a couple of other guys down there. But no, I think this is going to be a Braden Boulis kind of season.
All right, well, there you go. The crystal ball has been read, and I think everybody would have a fairly hard time arguing with it. The only thing that Braden didn't do tonight was take pole position, and that went to the qualifying king himself, Jason Martin. So looking at wrapping this one up now, I think that's just about all that we've got coming to you from, where are we tonight? Can't even remember. Michigan. Coming to you from Michigan tonight. So I think it's been a fantastic race, and thanks very much, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Good night.